A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is James Okumu. Welcome to another episode of Man Up. This is where the men get together and have conversations on issues that affect us in this generation. Tonight we want to talk about the father effect. A father in the picture. What effect do they bring? A father out of the picture. What effect do they bring to that whole equation? I've got two men with me in studio tonight to help me with this conversation. First and foremost, founder, Men of Purpose, George Mugu. How are you doing?
Very well, James.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
It's good to have you.
Thank you for inviting me one more time.
Awesome. We also have psychologist Anthony Njenga.
Yes.
Karibu.
Asante sana. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Gentlemen, I don't know, but this is what I've been thinking, and tell me if I'm correct or you think otherwise. I've been kind of thinking that it's almost like there's a deliberate plan to take the father figure out of the picture. You know, I feel like even when I think back in the day when we were growing up, some of the sitcoms we would watch, the father was always presented as the guy who's last to know things. You know, he's the danderhead in the family, children make fun of him. And I kind of, when I look back, I think it's almost like it's deliberate to slowly push this man out of the picture so that you have a society where men don't mean much. I don't know what you think about my thinking.
Yes, I think there is some element of truth in it, and it may have been brought by a lot of factors.
Okay.
For instance, you remember, if we may go back, like our country during the independence period, when, you know, men were removed from the villages, maybe they went to fight for independence and all that. Then after that, there was the aspect of the man going to look for bread and you know, to work and leave the wife and the children back at home. So it has been a culmination of, you know, a lot of events. However, it is not God's intent that should be the thing. A father figure is very, very key and very central in the upbringing of a family. Okay. As a matter of fact, I keep on saying man is a foundation. See, when God created man, he created man first. When you want to build a house, the first thing you build is the foundation first.
Yes.
So it was intentional for man to be the foundation upon which the society is going to be built, all right? And so if you want then to bring down a building, what do you go for? You destroy the foundation.
The foundation.
So the attack on fatherhood and on man in particular is because there is an attack on the families. So who do you go for? You go for the foundation, then the whole building collapses. Okay. So yes, there's been an intentional design to be able to emasculate the man and the father figure so that the society is destroyed.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just curious. Were you raised up with the father present in the picture?
Yes, I was.
What do you think back? What would you say, what kind of effect did that have in the home and on you growing up as a young man, having a father figure present?
Having my father present as I was growing up really helped me a lot. Ilinifanya ni disciplined in a way. Unaona, when it comes to also the aspect of a man, I knew how a man should behave, how a man should be. When it comes to school performance, actually it gave me much courage to actually do what I do in school. Yeah. Having a father figure in my life or having a father figure in a person's life is really important, because I can imagine the moment you don't have that father in your life, what will be really running into your mind? Utakuwa unafikiria tu kuenda na peer influence, hauna discipline, but the father being in your life ana instill discipline na unajua hivi ndo inafaa kukua kwa life. Yeah. If you go against these are the consequences you will get. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, George, you run this program, Men of Purpose, and I know you teach men a lot about what it is to be a man according to the biblical perspective. And so as we look at the father effect, what would you say is the place of a man in the family and in the society? What does a man bring? Why is it important to have a man as the foundation?
First and foremost, as I said, man being the foundation, he brings the stability of the home. But if you look at even the word father, let's start from there. Yeah. What does it mean? You know, father is the source, Abba Father. Okay?
Yeah.
He is the source. And in fact, I keep on saying we are privileged as fathers to share the same name with God.
With God.
As God the Father. So look at a man as the source. Look at the man as the protector. Look at the man as the provider. Look at the man as, you know, just the security that he's able to bring, the priest of the home, the prophet of the home.
Yeah.
And the prayerful man, okay? And there are some aspects that God has put in man. Because all of us are different, men and women. All of us play our different roles. But when you look at what God has put in man, society cannot stand without a father figure.
Wow.
Broaden that, even when it comes to nations. Have you ever noticed we talk of fathers of the nation? Yeah? Because there's a central role of a fatherhood that is able then to be able to guide the society.
Yeah.
Man was born to lead. So as a leader, you're going to be then a visionary person.
Yes.
Okay? And any woman who comes into a man's life comes as a helper.
Yes.
So what am I helping you to do? You know? In fact, ask any woman who is frustrated about her marriage, and she's going to tell you, where are we going? Exactly. So for her, it's show me where to go. I'll help you. And it's interesting. I was hearing one preacher saying, and I've never heard of this before. Do you notice that the Holy Spirit and a wife share the same name?
Yes.
A helper.
A helper.
Okay? So a woman comes to help you as a man. So as a man, what is expected of you? Show me the way. Show me the vision. Tunaenda wapi, you know?
I will help you get there.
And any woman will be able to follow. So when you think then of direction, it is central to a society, a family, you know, a company, you name it. Everybody needs to.
I'm just thinking, when I think about the kind of lives we live today, the role of the man has been reduced to provider.
Yes.
It's always, what are you bringing to the table? And this has to do with how much moolah are you bringing?
Yes.
And so we find a situation where you have some scenarios where the woman is even providing much more than the man.
The man, yes.
Do you think that has destabilized men to forget that their identity is not just pegged on what they can bring in terms of monetary, but there's so much more to being a man than just the paycheck that you bring?
Yes, actually, I agree with what you've said. And talking of a man being the provider, talking of that, nowadays ladies have normalized being the man and the woman in the family. That's why unapata kuna ile time ilikuwa Father's Day. Unapata the woman was being wished happy Father's Day.
I saw that conversation, you know? And I thought,
because we are living in a world. Let me talk about this world we are in. I'm a young person. And the things I've seen as a psychologist, as a counselor, and the women have really degraded the men. The men shouldn't be there in our lives. Before we started the show, I was telling you, the women or the moms, single moms, they're women who decide to be single moms either by choice or by circumstance.
Yeah.
But talking of you deciding to be a single mom by choice or circumstance, or when I talk about circumstance, I mean maybe, for example, you are in a toxic relationship and you decided you need to leave.
Yeah.
But now the problem comes in that nowadays unaona wasichana wadogo, they go for the wababa. Why? Because they need that man who will be in her life and also will be a father figure to even the child. The problem comes in there, but in society, as I honestly speaking, and the generation we are in, we have degraded the men that mwanamume si lazima ni provide. As a woman, I can provide everything, but the father being in the picture actually helps a lot, because I can imagine if a lady who is saying, I don't need a man, I don't need a father in my life, I don't need any of that. They might be saying also that because of maybe the childhood trauma.
Yeah.
But either way, that can be a reason as to why this is happening. Talking about childhood trauma, there are women or there are men who actually don't need fathers because of what they saw their fathers doing to their mothers as they were growing up. So they grow up with that notion of mwanamume kwa life yangu is stress. You understand? And that's why you tend to, your story of childhood trauma, unapata there are people who actually become homosexual because of the childhood trauma maybe they experience. Unapata maybe the person has been seeing the father beating the mother, the physical abuse, domestic violence. So akigrow up anasema mbona nikuwe kwa mwanaume. So unapata they call men what? Yes, there's that word they call men.
Men are dogs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, now if you call a man a dog, how then will you expect that uta have that man to be there for your child?
Yeah.
You will never see the aspect or the importance of a man being in your life. But a man is really important because they bring comfort, they bring peace, they bring strength in the family. Yes.
George, would you say a good number of the problems we are facing in society today has been because maybe we have misunderstood or we have neglected the position that God put a man in, both in the family and in the society?
Let me answer it this way, James. We have an epidemic in this country.
Oh, I see your COVID.
It's called fatherlessness.
Oh, wow.
If you heard the president's speech,
Yeah.
when was it? Was it Madaraka Day, June 1st? And for the first time, it's being mentioned on a national holiday.
Yes.
That the number of single parents has now hit 38%.
Wow.
Yeah? And I can assure you, 80% of that 38% are led by women.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, that is a huge number. Okay? So fatherlessness comes with its own consequences. All right? For instance, a research was done a few years ago in some of our prisons. And 75% of all the men who are incarcerated, they grew up in a fatherless home.
3/4.
Exactly. Of the men. Okay? So this man could be fatherless, he's not there, or it could also be an absentee father. You're there and you're not there, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there are some men who are unfathered, there are some men who are come from absentee fathers. Others, you know, there's no father at all. So we need to address this whole issue of fatherhood, not just of the biological fathers. Because our father is not necessarily the one you sired.
Yes.
But as men, we need to take our place. And if you have your nephew who doesn't have a father, why don't you father him?
Yes.
If there's a cousin who doesn't have a father, why don't you be the father? Because the mother cannot, okay? Raise him up, show him what it means to be a dad. And if there's any craving in a boy's heart, is to be a father. And therefore, one of the things that is lacking in this country is that we have so many programs for women, so many programs for children. Apparently, even in church, have you ever noticed that even when it comes to the budget,
Yes.
ya watoto itakuwa, you know, for the women, for the men, you guys sort yourselves out. Show me any church that has a very strong men's ministry. Very, very few churches have that. And so I think we need to address this either from the policy level, from the religious sector. The whole issue of fatherhood, it needs an attention to curb this epidemic.
Okay.
That we are seeing.
There's a question I'm thinking of, and I don't want to forget, so I'll ask you. You hold on to it as I ask him another question, because you said, you know, we need to take up that role. It's not just about the children you sired, you know, your nephew, your children in the neighborhood. But I'm just curious, could it be that many of us probably don't do that because we don't know how to do that, because maybe we ourselves were not fathered in the first place? So hold on to that question. The question I wanted to ask him before we take a break is, from your perspective as a psychologist, who do you think is affected more with fatherlessness, the boy child or the girl child?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think both of them. Yes. I'd say
Okay.
both of them are affected. Both of them are affected because if we say the boy, tunasahau pia kuna msichana na affected mahali. The lady also needs attention. That's why vile nilikuwa nimesema, that's why most girls end up, when they grow up, they tend to get older men because they did not have the father presence in their life as they were growing up. Yes, and also the boys are affected. The boys are really affected. But I'd say, talking of that, I'd say both of them are affected.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You're watching Man Up. You're talking about the father effect. I'm curious, did you grow up with a father figure in the home? Talk to me. Let me know. 20316 SMS line. WhatsApp number 0786 316 316. We are taking a short break. Kama kawaida, run to the kitchen, glass of water, come back for part 2.
Tomorrow on The Corner.
No one knew about me for those 10 years. No one knew what I was fighting. I was not talking. I never told anyone I have issues.
The number one thing that we've been taught and told is not to say.
I would tell him, I'll walk out, and then he's like, you can't. Until one day, one morning.
What is the first step in healing after divorce or separation?
Don't miss out on The Corner tomorrow at 8:30 p.m.
Welcome back to Man Up. Tonight we are talking about the father effect, the role of a father and the effect a father brings in the home or in the community, or the effect a father brings by their absence in the home and in the community. And I'm asking you, did you grow up with a father in the home? And I keep saying this, and I know Mr. Okumu is watching. I grew up with a father figure in the home. My dad was always there. And till today, when I go home to Geshagi to hang out with my parents, I always feel safe. I always have that thing, even when I've gone with my kids. Yeah. You know, in my mind, I'm like a kid again because I'm thinking, my dad is here. There's nothing my dad cannot handle. And that amazes me, that whatever circumstances happen within the home, I'm never panicking. I keep thinking, but see, Father, you call. Yeah, because he's always handled such kind of issues. And so that brings out the whole issue of stability that you were talking about. Back to the question I asked you earlier, could it be that many of us maybe are afraid, or we don't want to do this because we don't know what to do because we feel like we were not fathered ourselves?
Precisely, precisely. And for me, that's where the man of purpose comes in. Because then we train men, we train the fathers how to be fathers. Look at it this way. You know, some things are more caught than taught.
Yeah.
And let me start by posing a question to you, James. You have sons and daughters. Let me ask you, what was the first toy that you bought for your daughter?
Of course, it's a doll.
A doll.
Yeah.
And that time she was about 2 years.
She was very young,
Yeah. And unconsciously, you started preparing your girl for motherhood at 2 years.
Yes.
Or less,
yes,
for that matter. Okay? Then kidogo, they are playing kalongo, you know?
Yes.
She's already learning how to cook.
And all these things.
You realize by the time the woman is coming to an age of being married, she has been prepared so much that for her she's just transitioning to something she's been preparing for all this time. Now look at the boys. They don't even spend time with their dads.
No.
Because that girl, she's in the kitchen, and the mother, the thing she is downloading, just preparing her. Men, we don't have time with our boys.
Yeah.
So we never actually train them and prepare them. And so what happens, even when we become fathers, we fall to our default. If the mzee was coming in at midnight, this is all I know.
Yes.
I'll be coming in at midnight. I've never seen any other father. This is the only thing I know. If he used to be abusive to my mother,
that's what you pick up. Yeah.
Nobody has ever taught me these things. So the challenge we are facing is that we don't have role models for boys to be men, for them to be fathers. All right? And that's why they are behaving, because they know nothing better.
Okay.
And so that's the challenge we are having. And that's why, again, I'm insisting, we need to come up then with programs, with even this thing should be in the school curriculum. To be a father, why can't it be one of the subjects that is being taught at that early age, then you be able to bring up. Because if you want an engineer, how come you start training them at that
age?
To bring up an engineer, when he's of age. So I think there are things that need to be deliberate. That's what we are lacking.
Okay. Do we have enough role models that we can look at? Fathers, even when we look at this whole conversation from a national level.
Yes.
When we look at even our leaders in the community and our leaders in the nation, do we have strong father figures? Men who you can look up to and say, I want to become like that man?
Maybe let me just respond to that.
Yeah.
Even before we talk of role models.
Yes.
Do we have forums where men meet? Women have so many forums.
Oh, yeah.
They are going to meet at the maternity and they are talking about children.
Yes.
They are going to meet in hospitals. They are going to meet. Where do you find men? Either in a
we meet
stadium,
when Arsenal and Man U are playing.
exactly, or in a bar.
Men's conference ile wanasemanga.
Yeah,
That's not a
yeah,
thing.
February 14th. Hiyo tunachomokaga tunasemanga tumeenda, but we never get there.
never get there.
Yes.
But so, in fact, there is even no space for men to express themselves and talk about what they are going through.
Yes.
And James, again, in addition to this, and this psychologist, a friend of ours, will tell you, men are going through a lot of depression.
For sure.
In fact,
Oh,
it has been
sure.
said more women attempt suicide than men, but more men commit suicide. You know, attempting
sure.
and committing are different.
Yes, yes. Attempting
What?
is like contemplating. You think
Okay.
of doing it,
But you
actually
don't get
men commit suicide. When was it? It was like this year or last year walitoa statistics here, suicide cases. And when you look at the statistics, unaangalia it's the men who are committing suicide. Look at the schools. Juzi niliona kuna shule Nakuru, a boy committed suicide.
Shule.
Yes, it happens. It happens. Actually, men, unajua wanaume pia, one thing I can say, kuna ile aspect ya mzazi. When you, let me ask you a question. Unajua kuna ile aspect ukigrow up, mzazi ni mkali. Akiingia kwa nyumba, akifika kwa gari ikiingia tu hivi kila mtu.
Upside down.
Like unaona sasa akisikia tu gari ya mzee imeingia,
Yes.
ama mzee amefika.
Yeah.
Kama walikuwa na watch TV wanazima, wanaketi wanangojea. Unaona, actually I was having a conversation with some boys na walikuwa wananiambia ati hao wakigrow up wanataka kuwa baba wenye wanaogopewa.
Oh.
Wakiingia kwa nyumba kila mtu
People
ameenda kulala.
scatter.
Exactly.
Because that's what they've been seeing.
Exactly. You see now hiyo ni kitu ingine yenye the boys are not getting the right role models. Alafu pia kuna pressure mingi sana. We're talking about role models. Let's say for example your role model is you. Somebody is looking up to you as a role model, but they are trying to be you other than trying to make themselves the perfect or the fit man to be a father. You understand? There is that comparison. Unaona, kama let's say for example, the way you speaking, they are listening. There are people who are looking at you as a mentor, but now they are trying to be exactly you. But that's not how you get a role model.
Yeah.
You get a role model, but you look at a role model by hata kama anakuinspire in a way, don't try to be exactly them.
Yeah.
Try
Pick
to also
up the
find
values.
exactly.
Yeah.
But that's the problem we have in the society. We are picking each and everything from our role models. Each and everything they do. If it's you the way you're dressed, ataka kuvaa hivyo ndo onekana yeye ndio baba.
Even the way God created us as men, even our voice, there's something about our voice that brings order.
Yes.
Now, you'd be shocked because I've been in this space, I've observed a lot of stuff. If you look at our schools, because that's your question, the lower classes from standard 4 downwards, I think the percentage of male teachers could be 0.something%. Okay? Now, I want even to go a bit further. Think of a boy child, of course born by a woman in a hospital. Chances the midwife is a woman. Yeah? You remove her, take her home. You engage a house help. Chances she's a lady. By the time she's going to your Sunday school, it's teacher Grace, teacher Margaret, goes to standard 1 to standard 5.
Yeah.
All those are women teachers that she's seeing. The authority figure of that boy
He's a woman.
is a woman. Okay? And therefore, even his psychology is until now a man comes in to be able to kind of to break that. It's like everything is rotating around the women. So as a policy level, for one, I think we need to engage more men to be teachers in
The
school.
law primary.
Secondly, what do you do as a man? I think there are immense opportunities. Schools are always looking for someone to come and talk to them.
Yes.
Come and talk to our students.
Na sio tu wakati wa exams.
Not just during
Yes.
exams.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
But I think one of the challenges you have in this nation is the aspect of volunteering. One, we don't have it.
We don't have it.
Or what do I get in exchange for this?
Economy
Exactly.
imekuwa ngumu.
Which is a sad thing. Because, James, the last weekend, people have spent a lot of money in Naivasha to watch cars. Flying dust all over.
I'm telling
What
you.
if they spent that weekend in various schools? Just mentoring the boys, talking to the boys.
Yes.
So you can't say I have no role to play. You can go to any school, the doors are wide open.
What about the church? What can the church do?
Now, that's another big problem we have at the church.
Really?
First of all, look at the church attendance.
Niangalie chini, mimi ni mchungaji.
Church attendance, 60-40. That is what we have in this country.
60% women.
Definitely. Okay. Again, being very, very intentional, even at the church level. I happen to be a pastor of a church as well.
Yeah.
And we are very deliberate. We say this is a men's church. And you say that intentionally, not to say that the women cannot come, but we are saying we are going to be deliberate in impacting the men. Okay? And as we do that, imagine women have no problem.
Yeah.
They shall in fact, they love it when they hear that. So what do? We engage activities for men. We have Bible studies for men only. Okay? So we sit together, we study the Word of God together. We had the Father's Day. We treated the church, you know. We took them out for lunch.
Okay.
And I mean, it was just awesome. So,
Next year, Father's Day, I'll come visit your church.
so there's a psychological message you are passing that fathers and men are important.
Are important. You know, on Father's Day,
Yes.
we this year we didn't do a lot. We just told men to stand up because we did the same thing for Mother's Day. Men stand up, all the fathers, and we celebrated them. And after that, I said, yeah, some of you young men, you know you are a father, but you did not stand up because you know you're not married. You are still a father. So I told them, next time stand up and take responsibility because you're still a father. You have a child somewhere. Na wende ushughulikie huyo mtoto. Supposed to kwa social media, sijui nini, you're not taking responsibility. Because I think also, we need to put, our young men, we need to put their feet to the fire.
Yes.
For those of us who are leaders in the church, if we have these young men and we know they've had children out there, we need to put their feet to the fire and teach them how to take responsibility and how to be good fathers. Because if we don't do it, maybe there's nobody at home, they had no father figure in their home to teach them. And so now that God has brought them into our space, I think we need to take that responsibility and we need to be very deliberate. I'm running out of time.
Okay.
What would your parting shot be?
My parting shot is just as you said about stepping up as a father. Hata kama ujawa huyo msichana, step up as a father. And if you're there, you feel like you're not ready, then you shouldn't have even engaged sexually with this lady. Kama unajua hauko tayari, ungetumia the protection, you know. Don't just unaenda hapo unajua kabisa you're not ready. If you're really getting into it, then abilities as a father.
It's important to follow God's ordained.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you haven't committed to her, keep your clothes on.
For sure.
Parting shot.
I'd like to ask every father who's watching, what fatherhood imprint are you leaving behind?
Wow.
Because fatherhood is all about legacy.
Yeah.
And once you realize that you have generations that will be looking back at you, then you ought to live your life so intentionally that by the time they are reading your eulogy, they are going to be saying, they are lived a man. Have you discovered how often we struggle writing an eulogy? So what do we say?
What do we say?
Why don't we be intentional right now? In fact, why don't you start writing your own eulogy so that you don't give people a hard time when they are reading it? Then you start living intentionally.
I like that.
For the glory of God.
Gentlemen, asanteni sana. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I like that last bit. Begin to write your own eulogy. Isikuwe siku ile utaenda, we have to really look for good things to say about you because they are so scarce. Fathers, let's own up, let's take responsibility because like George said, we are the foundation. Without the foundation, society will collapse. That's just the way God ordained it. Whether people like it or not, the man is the foundation. Thank you for watching. Have a great night. God bless you.
Fresh, insightful, and in-depth stories from current affairs, opinion, inspiration, lifestyle, church-related articles, and so much more on www.familynews.today. Insights at your fingertips.